A rich man marries an ugly beggar for a bet, but what he finds out on their wedding night shocks him. Before we start the story, write in the comments where you are watching from. Enjoy the story. Nathan Parker, a cold and proud millionaire, stood on the balcony of a fancy party. He looked arrogant and calm. Nothing seemed to bother him until his old friend Michael Carter walked up holding a glass of wine with a playful smile. "Nathan, you always say money can buy anything, right?" Michael asked, breaking the quiet. Nathan took a sip of champagne, looking bored. "Because it can." Michael leaned on the railing and pointed to someone sitting on the sidewalk below. A young woman, barefoot, in old clothes, with a tired look. "See her?" Michael said, challenging him. "She's your next challenge. I bet $2 million you can't turn her into a high-class lady and stay married to her for 3 months. Nathan squinted, staring at the woman for a moment. He didn't see a person, just a piece in a game. He felt sure he could win $2 million. "You clearly underestimate me, Michael," Nathan said with a smirk. Michael raised his glass, daring him. Nathan stayed quiet, watching the scene below. The young woman looked like she didn't notice anything around her. A small plastic cup sat by her side, where people dropped coins now and then. "Looks like tonight's entertainment has started," Nathan murmured, before walking back inside. Minutes later, Nathan was on the sidewalk, standing close to the woman. Under the soft yellow streetlight, her thin figure became clearer. Her messy hair surrounded a face full of exhaustion, but also hidden strength. Her hands held a piece of cardboard with messy writing, "Anything helps." "Excuse me," Nathan said, his voice more like a command. The woman looked up, surprised. Her blue eyes, dull from hardship, showed a quiet strength Nathan hadn't expected. "What do you want?" she asked carefully, shrinking back. Nathan smiled, a mix of curiosity and pride. "I have a proposal for you, something that could change your life." She frowned, suspicious. "Nothing's free," she said. "I'm serious," Nathan replied, kneeling to her level. "My name is Nathan Parker. I have money, lots of it. I need someone like you for a personal project." "Project?" she asked bitterly, giving a small laugh. Her worn teeth showed as she spoke. "I'm not anyone's test subject, Mr. Millionaire." Nathan ignored her sharp tone and went on, calm and sure. "I will pay you well. You'll have food, clothes, a place to stay. All you need to do is marry me for 3 months." The woman blinked, shocked. "You must be joking." "I never joke about business," Nathan replied firmly. "It's simple, a marriage of convenience, no real feelings. After 3 months, we split, and you walk away with more money than you've ever seen." She sat quietly, thinking about his strange offer. Her life had been falling apart ever since she lost everything. Still, something about Nathan's cold voice annoyed her. "Why me?" she finally asked. "Because you're here," he answered bluntly. His rude reply almost made her get up and leave. But hunger and cold kept her still. "My name is Emily Clark," she said softly. "And if I say yes, how do I know this isn't a trick?" Nathan pulled out his phone and made a call. Soon, a sleek black car stopped beside them. A well-dressed driver stepped out and opened the door. "Get in," Nathan ordered. "We'll talk somewhere better." Emily hesitated, but couldn't resist the chance to leave the street, even for a little while. She got into the car, and Nathan followed, telling the driver to take them to the nearest hotel. The ride was quiet and tense. Emily stared out the window while Nathan typed on his phone, not paying attention to her. When they arrived, the hotel staff took them to a fancy suite. Emily couldn't hide her surprise. Soft carpets, elegant furniture, and a beautiful city view made her feel like she was dreaming. Nathan ordered food and clean clothes for her. Emily stayed close to the door, watching everything carefully. "Relax," Nathan said, pouring himself a glass of whiskey. "I don't want to hurt you. This is just a deal." A few minutes later, the food arrived. Emily ate quickly, feeling her hunger finally fade. Nathan watched her closely, studying her every move. "So, do you agree or not?" he asked when she finished. Emily wiped her mouth and took a deep breath. "How much are you paying me?" $1 million, Nathan answered, like it was nothing. Emily almost choked. The amount sounded unreal. With that money, she could start fresh, maybe even help others like her. But the idea of selling herself bothered her. "I need some promises," she said, trying to control the talk. Nathan nodded. "Everything will be written down. My lawyer will make a contract. You will have food, clothes, and a room in my mansion." "And the wedding?" she asked nervously. "Tomorrow," Nathan replied simply. "It'll be quick, just paperwork." Emily ran her hand through her messy hair, feeling trapped. Nathan's words left no space to change things. Finally, she sighed and nodded. "All right." Nathan smiled, pleased. "Good. Rest tonight. Tomorrow starts the new life." He left the suite, and Emily stood alone in the fancy room. The silence felt heavy. She knew she had made a risky choice, but she felt like she had no other option. The next morning, a soft knock woke Emily. A hotel worker entered with breakfast and clean folded clothes. Emily noticed how carefully everything was prepared. The fine fabric, neutral colors, all fitting her size perfectly. As she ate, the weight of her choice settled in. She was giving up 3 months of her life, but the thought of $1 million made her dizzy. Starting over no longer felt impossible. After a short time, Nathan appeared, looking as polished as always. He held a leather folder and gave it to Emily. "Here's the contract," he said. "Read it, sign it, and we'll meet at the courthouse at 2 o'clock. Emily looked through the document, her eyes moving over the clauses and terms that detailed every part of the agreement. Everything seemed legitimate, but the formality made her uneasy. Still, she signed it, feeling that each stroke of the pen marked a point of no return. The wedding was quick and without emotion. They exchanged only a few words in front of an impersonal judge, signed some papers, and it was done. Emily Clark was now officially Emily Parker, Nathan Parker's wife. There were no guests, just the driver and the lawyer as witnesses. As they left the courthouse, Nathan placed a hand on Emily's back, guiding her to the car. She noticed he did it not with affection, but mechanically, as if following a protocol. "And now?" Emily asked, as the car moved through the busy streets. "Now we go to my mansion. That's where you'll be staying for the next few months," Nathan said, not looking up from his phone. The Parker mansion was as grand as Emily had imagined. Tall iron gates opened automatically, revealing a long driveway lined with perfectly kept gardens. The house itself was massive, with white columns and large windows reflecting the sky. Inside, Emily was greeted by a team of staff. Nathan gave quick instructions, telling them to prepare a room for his new wife. Meanwhile, Emily remained silent, trying to take in her surroundings. By nightfall, Nathan invited her to dinner. The dining room was enormous, with a long table lit by a crystal chandelier. Emily sat at one end, Nathan at the other. The distance between them felt symbolic. But Nathan, indifferent, simply began eating. "How are you settling in?" he asked in an almost casual tone. "I'm not used to this much luxury," Emily admitted, glancing around. Nathan allowed a faint smile. "You'll get used to it." After dinner, Nathan walked Emily to the room prepared for her. In the hallway, their voices echoed softly until Emily stopped and turned to him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, finally voicing the question that had been bothering her. Nathan crossed his arms, leaning against the wall. "Because I can." Emily narrowed her eyes, feeling a mix of anger and curiosity. "This isn't just random. People like you don't do things like this without a reason." Nathan didn't answer. He simply gave a faint smile and stepped away. "Get some rest. Tomorrow, your transformation begins." Later that night, Emily sat alone in her room, perched on the edge of the bed, as memories from her past began to resurface. It wasn't just the grandeur of the mansion that unsettled her. There was something deeper. She realized she had crossed paths with Nathan before. Suddenly, a memory flashed in her mind. Years ago, sitting nervously in an interview room, she had dressed in her best outfit and clutched a carefully prepared resume. The company, Parker Enterprises. And the interviewer, Nathan Parker. She recalled Nathan's cold gaze as he dismissed her with a harsh comment. "We don't waste time on amateurs." That humiliation had shattered her confidence, and her life had unraveled afterward. Now, ironically, she was married to the man who had triggered her downfall. Anger boiled inside her. How could he not remember her? Or did he remember and simply not care? Determined, Emily left her room and went to the study, where she found Nathan reviewing documents. "I need to ask you something," she said, crossing her arms. Nathan looked up, surprised by the interruption. "What is it? Do you really not remember me?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. Nathan frowned, puzzled. "Should I?" Emily clenched her fists, fighting back tears. "A few years ago, I came to your company looking for a job. You humiliated me in front of everyone." Nathan studied her for a moment, as if trying to recall. Finally, he shrugged. "I interviewed dozens of people every month. I don't remember all of them." His indifference cut like a knife. "Of course you don't," she replied bitterly. "To you, we're all disposable." Nathan remained silent, but something in Emily's expression unsettled him. He stood and took a step toward her, but she was already walking away. Returning to her room, alone again, Emily felt the weight of the situation. This wasn't just a cold arrangement. It was a chance to face the man who had once destroyed her. But she was no longer the vulnerable young woman from years ago. The next morning, Emily awoke with the first rays of sunlight streaming through the massive windows. The weight of last night's conversation still hung over Emily, but she decided not to let it control her. She got up, took a shower, and went downstairs for breakfast. There, she found Nathan already seated, reading a newspaper. "Good morning," she said in a neutral tone. Nathan nodded, without looking up, his eyes still on the paper. The silence between them felt heavy, but Emily refused to be intimidated. She calmly poured herself a cup of coffee and sat at the table. "So, what's next?" she finally asked, breaking the silence. Nathan lowered the newspaper and gave her a faint smile. "Now your transformation begins. We have a team ready, stylists, etiquette instructors, even a posture coach. Soon you'll be introduced to high society as my wife." Emily rolled her eyes. "As if expensive clothes will erase everything I've been through," she muttered. Nathan ignored the comment. "Next week's business dinner will be your first test. I need you to be flawless." The following days were exhausting for Emily. From early morning, she went through endless clothing fittings, etiquette lessons, and posture drills. She hated how fake it all felt. But slowly, she noticed herself adapting to the new world around her. Nathan kept his distance during this time, but couldn't help noticing the effect Emily was having on the household. She wasn't like the other women he had known. She didn't follow his lead without question. One afternoon, as Emily was practicing walking gracefully across the grand hall, Nathan entered quietly, watching her without a word. When she finally noticed him, she stopped, crossed her arms, and raised an eyebrow. "Enjoying the show?" she asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Nathan gave a small smile. "Just checking on your progress. You're doing well," Emily scoffed. "Glad my performance meets your approval, Mr. Parker." Nathan stepped closer, stopping a few feet away. "Why does it always feel like you're ready to attack me?" he asked, curious. "Maybe because you deserve it," she shot back without hesitation. Nathan paused, caught off guard by her honesty. Then, without arguing, he took a step back and changed the subject. "Get ready. We're going out tonight." "Where?" Emily asked, narrowing her eyes suspiciously. "A private dinner. At a restaurant." "I want to see how you act in public," Nathan said. That evening, he and Emily went to one of the city's fanciest restaurants. Emily wore a beautiful dress and caught many admiring looks, but she felt uncomfortable with all the attention. Nathan, however, seemed very calm during dinner. He noticed Emily was nervous. She kept looking around and played with her dress strap. "Relax," he said softly. "You're doing well." Emily looked up, surprised by his kind voice. "I'm not used to this," she admitted. Nathan leaned forward a little. "You will get used to it. Trust me." For a moment, Emily saw something different in his eyes. He didn't seem like the cold, strict man she knew. There was something more human, almost soft. After dinner, on the way back to the mansion, the mood in the car was lighter. Nathan talked about how she behaved during dinner, pointing out small things she could improve, but he didn't sound critical. "You're really serious about this, aren't you?" Emily asked. Curious, Nathan glanced at her. "I always take my bets seriously." The word bet made Emily tense. She still didn't know exactly what Nathan wanted from all this. The idea of being part of some game made her feel sick. That night, alone in her room, Emily decided to explore the mansion. She walked through the quiet halls until she found a door slightly open. It led to an office. Inside, a big wooden desk was covered with papers. Curious, Emily walked over and looked through them. Among the contracts and reports, she found something that made her freeze. A printed chat between Nathan and another man about the bet. One message asked, "Has she agreed?" Nathan had replied, "Yes, it's only a matter of time before I win." The words were cold. Emily felt her stomach twist. She had guessed there was more behind Nathan's actions, but seeing it written was painful. Suddenly, the door opened and Nathan walked in. His face hardened when he saw Emily holding the papers. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice low and tense. Emily stared at him, gripping the papers tightly. "Is this how you see me? Just a bet to make yourself feel better?" Nathan stepped closer to take the papers, but Emily pulled away. "Answer me," she demanded, her voice shaking with anger. Nathan sighed, running his hand through his hair. "It's not as simple as you think." Emily gave a bitter laugh. "Not simple? You've played with my life like I don't matter." "Emily," Nathan began, but she cut him off. "Don't even try to explain," she shouted, throwing the papers on the desk before leaving the office quickly. Nathan stood there, staring at the papers. For the first time in years, he felt like he had lost control. Emily could barely breathe as she ran up the stairs. Her heart beat so fast it hurt. Once in her room, she locked the door and leaned against it, trying to calm down. Finding out about the bet destroyed any trust she had built. "I can't stay here," she thought, as tears of anger and shame rolled down her face. She looked around, searching for a way to leave. That night, while everyone slept, Emily quietly put her plan into action. She dressed in plain clothes and packed a small bag with the few things she had. Carefully, she opened the window and climbed down the trellis covered in rose vines. The cold night air hit her as she reached the ground. She looked back at the mansion's large shape against the dark sky. Part of her wanted to scream and make Nathan feel the pain she felt. But instead, she turned and ran toward the road without looking back. The streets were empty. Emily walked for hours, ignoring how tired and cold she felt. When she finally reached the city center, she found shelter in a subway station. She curled up on a bench, trying to rest. Back at the mansion, Nathan woke early and noticed Emily wasn't at breakfast. At first, he thought she needed space after last night's fight. But when a staff member said no one had seen her since dinner, he felt cold inside. "Check her room," he ordered, trying to stay calm. Minutes later, the butler returned, looking worried. "Mr. Parker, the room is empty. The window is open." Nathan ran upstairs and went into Emily's room. The bed was untouched. Her clothes still hung in the closet. He walked to the window and saw marks on the trellis. "She ran away," he whispered, clenching his fists. Without wasting time, Nathan grabbed his phone and called several people, asking them to help find her. The thought of Emily alone in the streets bothered him. He didn't know why, but something inside pushed him to find her, not because of the bet, but because of something new in his heart: regret. Meanwhile, Emily wandered the streets, barely able to stay standing. She felt weak, and her fever was rising. The stress of the past days had caught up with her, but she refused to stop. Every step showed her strength, proof she wouldn't let Nathan or any man control her again. At sunrise, Emily reached a small square and sat on a bench. Her hands shook, and her vision blurred. She knew she needed help, but was too proud to ask. Closing her eyes, her body gave in to exhaustion. Nathan, on the other hand, had already started searching the city himself, driving his car through every street. He looked at every corner and bench, hoping to see Emily. Guilt ate at him. He never thought his actions would cause her this much pain. Hours later, with the sun high, he finally found her. Emily was lying on a bench, wrapped in a thin blanket someone had given her. Her face was pale, and she shook with fever. "Emily," Nathan called, running to her. She slowly opened her eyes and saw him. "What are you doing here?" she whispered weakly. "I'm here to take you home," he said, his voice steady but full of care. "I don't have a home," she replied bitterly. Nathan lifted her up, not paying attention to her weak efforts to stop him, and carried her to the car. On the way to the hospital, he said nothing. His mind was full of thoughts. He knew words alone wouldn't be enough to win back Emily's trust. At the hospital, the doctors said Emily was dehydrated and had a high fever. Nathan stayed close, watching her sleep while the doctors took care of her. A heavy feeling filled his chest. For the first time in many years, he felt like he had lost control of his life. Hours later, when Emily finally woke up, she saw Nathan sitting beside her bed. He looked very tired, but his eyes were focused only on her. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice still weak. "Because I care," Nathan answered softly. Emily gave a small, dry laugh, her voice a whisper. "You don't know how to care about anyone except yourself." Nathan looked down, his hands tight on his knees. "Maybe you're right, but I want to change." She stared at him quietly, unsure if she should believe him. Her mind was too tired to think clearly. The next morning, Emily woke to the sound of soft footsteps in the room. She turned her head and saw a nurse adjusting her IV. The sight made her feel safer, but reminded her how weak she was. Nathan wasn't there, which made her feel a bit calmer. Soon after, the door opened and Nathan walked in holding a small paper bag. He wore casual clothes, different from his usual sharp suits. He looked tired but determined. "I brought something for you," he said, placing the bag on the table. Emily looked at him without saying anything. Nathan pulled up a chair and sat down, leaving space between them. "It's soup. You need to get your strength back," he said, opening the bag. "I don't want anything from you," Emily replied, her voice rough and cold. Nathan sighed, but didn't try to argue. He knew forcing her wouldn't help. Instead, he stayed quiet, letting the silence stay between them. "Why are you here, Nathan?" Emily asked after a long pause. He waited before answering. "Because I care." Emily gave a bitter laugh. "You don't know what that means." Nathan leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I've never cared about anyone. But you made me see things I didn't want to face." She looked away, holding the bedsheet tightly. "That doesn't change what you did." "I know," he said, his voice low. "I don't expect you to forgive me soon, but I'll prove to you I can be better." Emily said nothing. Her feelings were a storm inside her. She wanted to believe him, but her heart still hurt too much. In the days that followed, Nathan stayed close, making sure Emily had everything she needed. He talked to the doctors, checked her meals, and even brought her books to help pass the time. Emily still felt upset, but she couldn't ignore his efforts. One afternoon, as she flipped through a book Nathan had left, she found something she didn't expect. A folded letter was hidden inside. It was written by Nathan in his strong handwriting. "Emily, I know words can't fix what I've done, but I want you to know I'm trying. I've never been good at admitting I'm wrong, but you made me look at myself. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I want to be someone you can respect. Nathan." Emily read the letter again and again, wondering if he meant what he wrote. Was he sincere? Or was it just another trick? That night, when Nathan came into the room, She held up the letter. "What is this?" she asked firmly. Nathan looked at the letter and sighed. "It's me trying to be honest." "Honest?" Emily shook her head. "You used me, made me feel worthless. How can I believe anything you say?" Nathan stepped closer, but stayed at a distance. "I know I don't deserve your trust, but I'll be here, even if it takes years for you to trust me." Tears filled Emily's eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you," Nathan nodded slowly. "I understand." The next day, the doctors told Emily she could leave the hospital. Nathan quickly arranged everything to take her back to the mansion. Emily didn't want to return, but she had nowhere else to go. When they arrived, Nathan surprised her. He had turned one of the rooms into a small art studio, filled with canvases, brushes, and paints of every color. "What is this?" she asked, shocked. "You once said you liked painting," Nathan replied, giving her a small smile. "I thought you might want a space of your own." Emily was speechless. It was simple, but meaningful. For the first time, she saw something in Nathan besides the cold, rich man she thought she knew. In the days after, Emily spent more time in the studio, painting and feeling free. Nathan stayed away, giving her space, but quietly making sure she was comfortable. One afternoon, as Emily painted, Nathan appeared in the doorway, watching her quietly. "You're talented," he said finally. Emily stopped and looked at him. "I didn't know you liked art." Nathan shrugged, with a soft smile. "I'm learning." She laughed for the first time in what felt like forever. Life at the mansion became calm. Emily focused on her art, and Nathan handled his business. There was an unspoken peace between them, a fragile balance neither wanted to break. But Nathan wanted more. He knew words weren't enough to rebuild her trust. He had to show her he could change, not just for her, but for himself. One afternoon, Nathan entered the studio while Emily worked on a new painting. He waited, but she kept working, ignoring him. "I need your help," he said finally. Emily stopped and wiped her hands. "My help?" Nathan nodded. "I want to support social projects. I think you can help me choose where to start." She looked at him, doubtful. "Since when do you care about that?" "Since I realize the world doesn't revolve around me," he answered honestly. Emily paused for a moment. Even though she didn't fully trust him, the idea of doing something meaningful interested her. "All right," she finally said, "but I'm not doing this for you." "I wouldn't expect anything else," Nathan answered with a small smile. In the days that followed, Nathan and Emily started visiting charities and community projects together. He took her to shelters, rehab centers, and schools in poor areas. At each place, Emily noticed something different about Nathan. He seemed truly interested in listening to people and understanding their problems. One visit stayed in her mind the most. They went to a shelter for women who had suffered from domestic violence. While Emily talked to some women, Nathan approached a young woman holding a baby. He bent down to her level and gently asked about her story. "It's hard to trust anyone after what I've been through," the young woman said, holding the baby tighter. Nathan nodded, his face serious. "I understand." Watching from a distance, Emily was surprised. She hadn't expected Nathan to show real empathy. On the drive home, the car ride was quiet, but the silence didn't feel heavy. Emily could feel something shifting in Nathan, though there was still a wall between them, stopping her from completely believing him. One evening, Nathan decided to take a risk. He arranged a special dinner for just the two of them. The dining room was decorated with candles and flowers, and soft music played. "What's this?" Emily asked, seeing the table. "A thank you," Nathan replied, pulling out a chair for her, "for helping me these past few days." Emily hesitated, but finally sat down. The dinner felt different from the others they had shared before. Nathan was more open, telling stories about his childhood. He explained how he grew up in a cold home where emotions were seen as weak. "I think that's why I always used money like a shield," he admitted, looking at his wine glass. "It was easier than facing real people." Emily listened quietly, taking in every word. She never thought Nathan would admit something like that. Finally, she asked, "What do you want?" Nathan looked up and met her eyes. "I want to be better. Someone you might respect one day." She stayed silent for a moment before replying, "That doesn't only depend on you, Nathan." "I know," he said with a sigh, "but I'll keep trying." After dinner, Nathan cleared the table while Emily went to her studio. She returned, holding a small canvas she had painted over the past few days. It showed a calm landscape with an open field and a sunset sky. "Here," she said, giving him the painting. Nathan looked at the canvas, surprised. "It's beautiful. I thought you might like it," Emily replied with a shrug. Nathan smiled, clearly touched. "Thank you." In the following days, Nathan kept showing small changes in how he behaved. He treated the staff at the mansion with more kindness, listened carefully to his employees' ideas, and spent more time on the social projects he and Emily had started. Emily also began to lower her guard, though slowly. She knew trusting Nathan again would take time and wouldn't be easy. But, little by little, something inside her began to shift. One afternoon, as they walked through the mansion's garden, Nathan suddenly stopped and looked at her. "I want to show you something," he said. Curious, Emily followed him to a small cabin at the back of the property. When they went inside, she saw the room was filled with things from Nathan's childhood, photos, old toys, and even drawings he had made as a child. "I've never shown this to anyone," he said softly. Emily walked around the room, picking up one photo. It showed a young Nathan standing beside an elegant woman she guessed was his mother. "You had a different life than I thought," she remarked. Nathan gave a sad smile. "My mother always told me that money could buy many things, but never happiness. I think it took me too long to understand that." Emily put the photo back on the shelf and looked at him. Maybe there's still time to learn. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink as Emily walked slowly through the mansion's garden. The past few days had been intense, filled with moments she didn't expect. She could feel something changing inside her, though there was still a barrier she couldn't bring down. That evening, Nathan appeared in her art studio as Emily finished a new painting. He looked unsure, something unusual for the confident man she knew. "May I come in?" he asked, almost shyly. Emily looked at him for a moment, then nodded. Nathan walked in slowly, his eyes on the painting she was working on. "It's beautiful," he said, looking at the landscape she had painted. "Thank you," Emily replied, keeping her attention on the canvas. Nathan took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something I've never shared with anyone." Emily set down her brush and turned to him, curious. "I'm listening." Nathan began pacing the room, his hands in his pockets as if searching for courage. When I was a kid, my mother was the only person who connected me to the real world. My father was a cold man. He believed that success came before everything, even family. He taught me to be hard, to never show weakness. He paused, his eyes far away. My mother, though, was different. She believed love and kindness mattered more than any money. But she died when I was 12. After that, my father made sure I became the man he wanted. A cold, calculating person focused on numbers. Emily listened closely. There was something deeply human in how he spoke about his past. "And now?" she asked softly. "Do you still think you need to be that man?" Nathan shook his head slowly. "Number, you've shown me there's more to life than what I used to see." A long silence filled the room before Emily finally spoke. "I have something to say, too." Nathan looked at her with interest as she lowered her eyes. "When you humiliated me in that interview years ago, it broke me. I lost all faith in myself. You hurt me in ways you can't imagine." Her voice shook, and Nathan felt a heavy pain in his chest. He realized the damage he had caused was deeper than he had known. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice full of real regret, even surprising himself. Emily looked at Nathan. For the first time, he seemed vulnerable, without his usual pride. She knew forgiving him would take time, but she chose to start now. "I want to trust you, Nathan," she said, "but rebuilding trust takes time." Nathan nodded seriously. "I understand, and I'm ready to wait." In the following days, Nathan became more involved in social projects. He and Emily visited poor communities and talked to people facing challenges like hers. With each meeting, Emily saw Nathan was truly changing. During one visit, they met Lily, a young woman about to leave school because of money problems. Moved by her story, Emily turned to Nathan. "Can we help her?" she asked, determined. Nathan smiled. "Yes, we can." With Nathan's help, Lily got a scholarship and financial aid. Seeing Lily's happiness warmed Emily's heart, as if helping Lily also healed a part of herself. That evening, back at the mansion, Emily sat by the fireplace, watching the flames. Nathan joined her, sitting nearby, but keeping some distance. "Today was special," he said. Emily agreed. Yes, it was. After a moment of silence, Nathan asked, "Emily, do you think there's still a chance for us?" Emily's heart beat faster. It was a hard question, but she needed to be honest. "I don't know, Nathan. We still have many issues to work through." Nathan accepted her answer without arguing. He knew he had to keep proving he was willing to change. Days passed slowly, but life at Nathan's mansion found a rhythm. Emily got more involved in social projects, and Nathan continued to show small but meaningful changes. Although the emotional gap between them lessened, Emily was still cautious about fully trusting him. One sunny afternoon, Nathan asked Emily to walk in the garden. She hesitated, but agreed. As they walked among the flowers, Nathan talked about a new project, building a community center to offer education and job training for people in need. "I want you to lead it with me," he said, encouraging her. Emily stopped, surprised. "Me?" "Yes. You understand these people's needs better than anyone, and I trust you." She was silent for a moment, considering his words. Despite her lingering doubts, she felt warmth in her heart. "I'll think about it," she replied. Nathan nodded, giving her time. Later that day, while Emily was in the art studio, she got an unexpected call from Clara, an old friend from her time on the streets. Clara's emotional voice brought back memories for Emily. Emily, I heard you're doing well now and working on social projects. I need to see you, Clara said, almost breathless. Emily arranged to meet her at a downtown cafe the next day. When she told Nathan about the meeting, he insisted on going with her. I won't interfere, but I want to make sure you're safe, he said seriously. Emily rolled her eyes but agreed. The next day, waiting for Clara at the cafe, Emily felt nervous. It had been years since they last met, and she didn't know what to expect. When Clara arrived, they hugged warmly, remembering the hard times they had shared. You've changed, Emily, Clara said after talking for a while. You seem stronger. I'm still learning, Emily replied with a modest smile. As they talked, Emily noticed Nathan sitting quietly at a nearby table. His presence, meant to ensure her safety, unexpectedly comforted her. On the drive back to the mansion, Emily broke the silence. Thank you for coming with me today. Nathan, surprised by her gratitude, smiled. There's no need to thank me. But I want to, she insisted. You've been different, and I've noticed. Nathan was quiet for a moment before replying, I just want to do the right thing, Emily. The sincerity in his voice made Emily's heart soften. She couldn't deny that Nathan was changing. However, things changed when Michael, the friend who had suggested the bet, appeared unexpectedly. He came to the mansion without warning, a mocking smile on his face. Nathan, how's life with your new wife? He asked sarcastically. Emily, who was in the garden, froze when she heard his voice. She quietly moved closer and hid behind a column to listen. What do you want, Michael? Nathan asked, clearly annoyed. Oh, I'm just curious. The bet's almost over, right? You must be eager to collect your $2 million. Emily felt a chill. She knew about the bet, but hearing Michael talk about it so casually reopened her healing wounds. The bet doesn't matter anymore, Nathan replied firmly. I cancelled it. Michael laughed, not believing him. Cancelled? You must be joking. I'm not, Nathan said seriously. I don't need the money, and I don't need the bet. Michael looked at him, surprised. So, you're really falling for her? Nathan didn't answer, but his expression revealed the truth. Emily stepped out from her hiding place, her heart torn between anger and confusion. Is it true? She asked, her voice trembling. Nathan turned, startled to see her. Emily, I can explain. I don't want explanations, Nathan. I want the truth, she shouted, tears in her eyes. Michael, sensing the tension, stepped back uncomfortably. I think I'll leave you two to sort this out. As he left, Nathan tried to approach Emily, but she moved away. Did you cancel the bet? She asked, her voice trembling. Yes, I did, Nathan answered. Why? Nathan took a deep breath. Because you're more important than any foolish game. Emily stood quietly, her feelings mixed and confused. She wanted to believe him, but the fear of being hurt again was too strong. I don't know if I can trust you, Nathan. Not after everything, she finally said. Then don't trust me, he replied, his voice calm but steady. Just watch, Nathan said. Let my actions show what my words cannot. Emily looked at him, trying to see if he was sincere. She still had doubts, but something inside her felt he was telling the truth. The days after Emily and Nathan's argument were tense. Emily spent hours in the studio, thinking, while Nathan tried hard to show he was sincere. Even though there was still distance between them, it was clear Nathan was changing. One morning, Emily sat on the terrace with tea, watching the trees move in the breeze. Her mind wandered between painful past memories and recent genuine moments with Nathan. She knew she had to decide soon, but fear of trusting again held her back. Nathan appeared in the doorway, holding a folder, looking serious, but without his usual arrogance. "May I join you?" he asked, respecting her space. Emily nodded, and Nathan sat, placing the folder between them. "I brought something for you," he said, opening the folder and showing some documents. "This is proof I ended the bet. I have no connection with Michael now." Emily read the papers carefully. They showed Nathan had returned the bet money and donated a large amount to charity. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. "Because I want you to know I'm honest. I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I'm trying to be a better man." Emily looked away, knowing Nathan was trying, but the hurt from his betrayal still pained her. "You want to change, but that doesn't erase what happened," she said firmly. "It doesn't," Nathan agreed, leaning forward. "But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." Silence filled the space between them, heavy with unspoken feelings. Emily knew she had to face her own feelings about Nathan. In the following days, Nathan respected Emily's space while showing his change through actions. He got deeply involved in social projects, visiting communities, and listening to people's stories. Emily, still cautious, noticed his genuine dedication. One afternoon, at a shelter for at-risk youth, a pregnant teenage girl named Sophie caught Emily's attention. "I don't know how I'll take care of my baby," Sophie cried. Emily's heart ached. She sat beside Sophie and held her hand. "You're not alone. We'll help you." Nathan watched from a distance, admiring Emily's connection with people. After that visit, he decided to take an important step. That evening, he arranged a special dinner at the mansion for just the two of them. The dining room was decorated with candles and flowers, and soft music played. When Emily entered, she was surprised by the warm atmosphere. "What is this?" she asked. Nathan, standing by the table, replied, "A way to thank you for everything you've done," pulling out a chair for her. Reluctantly, Emily sat, watching Nathan closely. He seemed more vulnerable, but also more determined. Dinner began in silence, but Nathan gradually opened up. He shared stories about his childhood, challenges under a strict father, and how losing his mother affected him. "I used money to avoid pain," he admitted, looking at Emily. "But now I see it made me someone I don't want to be." Emily listened, torn between empathy and skepticism. She felt Nathan was sincere, but wasn't sure she could fully trust him yet. "I want to believe you, Nathan," she said, "but part of me is still afraid." Nathan nodded, accepting her words. "I'll keep trying. I won't give up on earning your trust." After dinner, Nathan walked Emily to her art studio. Before saying goodnight, he took out a small, silver butterfly pendant. "My mom gave this to me when I was a child," he said, handing it to Emily. "She said, 'Butterflies symbolize transformation. I want you to have it as a reminder that we can all change." Emily took the pendant, feeling its symbolic weight. She was speechless for a moment, then gave Nathan a faint smile. "Thank you," she said softly. In the following days, Emily noticed small changes in herself. She still kept some distance from Nathan, but moments of connection started to happen naturally. A casual conversation in the garden, a shared glance during a meeting. These small gestures showed the barrier between them was fading. One afternoon, while walking in the garden, Nathan stopped and looked at Emily. "I want to show you something," he said, leading her to a small cabin at the back of the property. Inside, Emily was surprised to see it filled with Nathan's childhood mementos, photos, old toys, and letters he wrote to his mother. "This was my refuge," Nathan said with a nostalgic smile. Emily picked up a letter, reading young Nathan's dreams and fears, revealing a vulnerable side she hadn't imagined. "You really are changing," she said, placing the letter back. Nathan looked at her with hope. "I'm trying, for you." Emily was quiet for a moment before responding, "Maybe there's still a chance for us." The days after their visit to Nathan's cabin were filled with introspection and hesitation. Emily knew she was close to making an important choice, but her fear of getting hurt again kept her from moving forward. Nathan, however, seemed more and more sure about his commitment. He didn't push Emily, but always stayed nearby, showing her through his actions that he was ready to face any challenge to prove he had truly changed. One evening, while Emily was finishing a painting in the studio, Nathan showed up at the door. He held 2 glasses of wine and looked more relaxed than usual. "Can I come in?" he asked with a small smile. Emily nodded, and he walked over, handing her one of the glasses. They stood quietly for a moment, looking at the painting Emily was working on. It showed a butterfly resting on a flower, its bright colors standing out against the soft background. "It's beautiful," Nathan said sincerely. "Thank you," Emily replied with a small smile. Nathan took a sip of wine before speaking again. "You know, I've always found it amazing how butterflies change. They start out small and limited, but in time, they turn into something completely different." Emily looked at him, understanding the comparison he was making. "And you think people can change like that?" she asked. "I believe they can, if they really want to," he answered firmly. She stayed quiet, thinking about his words. Even though she still had doubts, Emily couldn't deny that Nathan seemed different. The next morning, Nathan told her he had planned a trip. "I want to show you something special," he said, with a mysterious smile. Emily hesitated, but finally agreed. A private plane flew them to a small village in the mountains, a quiet place surrounded by stunning views. When they arrived, Nathan took her to a simple but cozy house he had prepared. "Why did you bring me here?" Emily asked, curious. Nathan looked around, breathing in the fresh mountain air. "This place reminds me that life can be simple but full of meaning. I wanted us to have time away from everything so we can really connect." During their stay, Emily and Nathan shared moments she never thought possible. They walked together on trails, cooked simple meals, and talked about their lives, dreams, and fears. Emily saw a side of Nathan she hadn't seen before, a real, vulnerable side that touched her deeply. One afternoon, while they rested by a quiet lake, Nathan spoke up. "Emily, I know I still have a lot to prove, but I want you to know that no matter what happens, the change in me is real." She looked at him, surprised by how serious he sounded. "And what do you want from me, Nathan?" "Just a chance," he answered simply. Emily felt a lump in her throat. She had spent so long protecting her heart, but now, standing there with Nathan, those walls were beginning to fall. When they returned to the mansion, Emily felt different. Her thoughts were clearer, and she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could trust Nathan again. Still, she knew she needed to make her final decision carefully. The morning air was fresh, and soft sunlight lit up the mansion. Emily woke slowly, golden light shining through the curtains. Sitting up, she looked around at the peaceful room. Something inside her had shifted over the last few days. The confusion that had troubled her was starting to fade. After the trip to the mountains, Emily felt like the walls around her heart were finally falling down. She thought about every moment with Nathan, the deep talks, the laughter, and how kind he had been. All of it showed her something she couldn't ignore. Nathan had truly changed, and he was becoming an important part of her life. Emily went downstairs for breakfast and found Nathan sitting at the table. He smiled warmly and put down the newspaper as soon as he saw her. "Good morning," he said in the gentle tone she had gotten used to. "Good morning," Emily replied, sitting across from him. They ate quietly, but the silence felt comfortable. Nathan poured her coffee, watching as she took a sip. He sensed that something had changed, but didn't ask. After breakfast, Nathan suggested they take a walk in the garden. Emily agreed, and together they walked along a path lined with flowers. Birds sang, and the trees rustled softly in the breeze. When they reached a stone bench under an old tree, Nathan stopped and faced her. "Emily, I need to ask you something," he said seriously. She looked at him, waiting. "A while ago, I promised I'd do everything I could to earn back your trust. I need to know, have I made any progress?" Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his question. She met his eyes, seeing hope and vulnerability in them. "You've changed, Nathan," she admitted. "And yes, you're earning back my trust." Nathan smiled, but there was more he needed to say. "Then I have another question," he said, kneeling down on one knee and pulling out a small velvet box. Emily gasped as he opened it, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. "Emily Clark, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Not because of a contract, but because of love." His words hung in the air, and Emily felt tears in her eyes. For a moment, she couldn't speak, her heart racing. Finally, she smiled and nodded. "Yes, Nathan, I will." Nathan gently slid the ring onto her finger, and they hugged under the shade of the tree. It was a simple moment, but it meant everything. It marked the start of a new chapter in their lives. A few weeks later, they had their wedding in the mansion's garden. Only close friends and partners from their social projects were there, but love filled the air. Emily wore a light lace dress that made her look almost like a dream, while Nathan, dressed sharply, couldn't stop looking at her. During their vows, Nathan held her hands tightly, his voice full of emotion. "Emily, you've taught me the real meaning of love, patience, and second chances. I promise to stand by you through good times and bad, and to spend my life making you happy." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she listened. Emily smiled and replied, "Nathan, you've shown me that people can change, and that love can grow even when it seems impossible. I promise to love you and walk by your side as we build our future together." Applause and happy smiles from their guests followed their kiss, sealing their commitment. For the first time, Emily felt she was exactly where she was meant to be. Their first year of marriage was filled with challenges, but also many moments of joy and growth. Together, Emily and Nathan worked hard to expand their social projects, helping hundreds of people rebuild their lives. Their relationship grew stronger, built on trust and real love. One morning, while they were in the kitchen making breakfast together, Emily turned to Nathan with a shy smile. "I have some news for you," she said, her eyes sparkling. Curious, Nathan stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "What is it?" "We're going to have a baby," Emily revealed, her voice full of emotion. For a moment, Nathan couldn't speak. Then, a bright smile lit up his face. He stepped closer and hugged her tightly. "This is wonderful, Emily," he exclaimed, his voice trembling with happiness. The news brought even more joy into their lives. The next few months were spent preparing the baby's room and dreaming about their future as a family. The day Grace Parker was born became one of the most emotional days of their lives. When they finally held their daughter, both Emily and Nathan felt an instant connection, as if every struggle they had faced had led them to this moment. "She's perfect," Emily whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Just like her mother," Nathan replied, softly touching Grace's tiny head. Grace's arrival made their bond even stronger. The mansion, once filled with coldness and formality, turned into a warm and loving home. Over the years, Emily and Nathan achieved even more. The community center they founded became a symbol of hope, helping thousands of people find new chances in life. Emily continued painting, using her art to raise money for their social projects, while Nathan mentored young entrepreneurs who wanted to make a difference. Grace grew up surrounded by love, her laughter filling the house with joy. Nathan and Emily, now true partners in every way, looked toward the future with hope and gratitude. One evening, as they stood quietly watching Grace sleep, Nathan held Emily's hand and whispered, "You've changed my life in ways I never imagined." Emily smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "And you've shown me that love can bloom in the most unexpected places." Together, they faced the future, knowing that no matter what challenges came, they would always stand side by side, united by the love that had transformed them. What do you think? Did Emily make the right choice by forgiving Nathan? Share your thoughts in the comments. How would you rate this story from 0 to 10? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with all our stories. And if you'd like more emotional stories like this one, click here on the end screen.